Well, hello everybody. It's Jim and Rob, and our first From a Restaurant Cedar Skip It in a while, eh, Jim?
Yeah, since the spring, maybe.
Folks, Jim and I just saw Godzilla minus one,
Nice one.
minus 1.0. And folks, Jim, I want to read the log line. It's not a perfect log line, but it's an awesome log line from IMDb. Post-war Japan is at the lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. Folks, it really is the story of a young, traumatized Japanese veteran and how he is making his way in post-war Japan with a made-up a found family, and how his war experiences, including a close brush with Godzilla, come to play when he's mind clearing with his
Team?
peeps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
his
new team.
fellow veterans, is their mind clearing, and they run into Godzilla again and have to deal with it. It pretty much covers it, eh?
Yeah.
Jim, let's start with this.
Sure.
Godzilla minus 1.0. See it or skip it.
Plus 10. Yes, absolutely see it. It's not, there are some teens there that were chatting the whole movie. I thought they expected just dinosaur destroying buildings for 2 straight hours. It's not that. It's I don't want to say slowly because that's
No,
it's a patiently developing story. You know, there's actual characters in this. There's actual development. There's a consequence. Yeah, it's and there's thrown trains and thrown ships and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Too. But yeah, it's something. It's a little more deep. I was joking, if Kurosawa made a Godzilla movie, maybe might be something like this.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It is a definite see it. It reminds me, as we're going through it, of so many other films, which not only are they kind of taking beats and making like little references to, but they're also going in the same place those other films did, which make them so memorable and which will make this memorable. And I'm talking about Jaws. It's not just a shark eating up a town.
Yeah.
Independence Day, which had, it's jingoistic, it's hyper-American, but it spends time, it develops characters. Yeah. It is not just shooting aliens.
Yeah.
Star Wars really only has a couple of action beats.
Yep.
Or action sequences. It's not just a big shoot 'em up.
A little bit of Dunkirk as well.
There's Dunkirk in a killer ending sequence. But at the same time, it also pays homage to its cinematic heritage. There are moments where I said this after the film, Jim, where I'm like, am I watching a Ray Harryhausen film? But really done well, like with the, some of the action set pieces with Godzilla, as the way he'd move and that. Yeah, it's...
Well, even from the start, they have the old Toho Cinemas, the little screen thing, their little symbol that you've seen in black and white a lot. Yeah. This one's in color. I was just like, immediately set the tone. The credits are all in Japanese as well.
Yeah. And even like some of you talk about that tone and those tone references back to the cinematic roots is just a kaiju movie, a monster movie. Right down to some of the crowds running through the streets and the way buildings would collapse and stuff like that. It was cool, but coming back to it, folks, the this film has a real heart. It's got some interesting politics in some ways. Almost a kind of, I want to say a right-wing sort of redemption story for not just one young traumatized veteran, but perhaps Japanese men.
Yeah.
That said, it's not like RRR, which is very much dives deep into that territory. This one sort of questions itself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't just say, oh, it's a jingoistic Japanese nationalism. There's something more subtle going on here,
I think, yeah, it's a redemption story for almost all the characters, and there's a point where all these local corporations are sort of like, we will join the fight, I tell you. And it's just like, we at the National Balloon Company
Tokyo Balloon
have also experienced war. We are in this together. That kind of thing. So yeah.
But sincerely, they're all playing the role sincerely. They're not, even the comic moments, which I kind of am reminded of The Fortress. Speaking of, there's that little bit of those comic moments over, rice wine and, these four characters on this boat.
Yeah.
Similar to the Orca at times.
A little bit.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time. I'm not sure I can speak well enough of this film. Like, it's solid. A huge surprise. I was not expecting something where I got so emotionally invested in these characters.
Yeah. And there's been chatter. Like, obviously, it's hit a chord. I said something to the girl who was waiting for us to leave, the employee of Simplex Theaters, and said, has this been popular? She says, very popular. And so, it wasn't a packed house, but it was a good crowd for something that's been out for 3 weeks already, or 2.5, especially around Christmas time. But it was, there's something going on, and we're absolutely going to see a sequel, obviously. But looks great. We should mention that too. It just, the flying sequences were cool. It's a real cool plane. Slight spoiler alert. There's all kinds of things going on, and there's enough characters, and they give them enough time that you're sort of invested in about 5 or 6 different stories. So it's
without feeling overwhelmed.
Yes.
And this movie's done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So any horse shit about, you gotta have time for world building.
Yeah.
I don't know. This managed it in 2 hours, and I was misty at the end.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So again, that's a see it from me,
Absolutely.
and a see it from Jim. So go check it out. And we were glad that we saw it in the theater.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Gojira. It actually says that they have a chart. They say Gojira on it at one point. But yeah.
All righty,
very cool.
folks.
Gambate.